What's up, guys? Coach Jared here with the Unfair Advantage podcast. Today's guest is my good friend, Scott Edmondson, probably one of the top Olympic weightlifters in the country, at depending on what weight class he decides to compete at for that meet. Scott and I have been friends for a really long time. I've also been coaching him for the last couple of years, so that's been really fun to see like him hit some pretty insane lifts both in training and competition. Scott has a really cool story and background as far as how he came up in high school athletics, and then went to college, did CrossFit a little bit, then got into weightlifting, and he's just kind of been around the block. So Scott and I graduated high school the same year. We're both getting old. We got a lot of wisdom between the two of us. So a lot of fun stuff. I'll let Scott kind of go through. I want to start out with, going through some of your top lifts that you've done, both snatch, clean, and jerk, as well as like squats, pulls, because not everybody understands snatch, clean, and jerk. They understand a lot more of the power lifts. And then, talk about a little bit more about your, maybe some of the top placements you've had at meets, and, then we can go all the way back to where it all started.
Okay. Yeah, I guess best competition lifts are actually my best lifts. That's not true. 143 in a kilos, so 315 snatch, and then I've clean and jerk 396. I've cleaned 407 at your clean cash for clean thing.
Yep.
And I've jerked off the blocks 419 pounds. Best power lifts, my best back squat is not great comparatively to most weightlifters, but I've back squatted 529. So I think it's like 240.
Welcome to the club.
Yeah, but I have not improved that for the last 8 years.
Well, we're on Operation
250.
Yeah, Operation 250 right now. Your pull, you PR'd relatively recently.
Yeah, I did pull 572. It's like 260 kilos.
Yeah, so that was pretty huge. What's your best presses?
My best push press is 341.
Okay.
I did that under you.
So 155, right?
155, yep. Yeah. And then best strict press is 105, which I can confidently say at the time was body weight. So that's 231 in pounds.
Got it.
But I did have a stint where I did a lot of bench before I came back for the Arnold a couple of years ago. I got my bench up to 360.
Okay.
So I tried to beat you, but
365. Yeah.
I knew that was the number to beat, but I didn't quite get there.
All right. Well, okay. So clearly Scott's super strong. If you ever watch Scott lift, he's one of the most natural movers I've seen. Natural weightlifters, just very fluid in his movement. He lifts pretty is what we say. Just again, very naturally athletic. I think we both probably had the similar experiences growing up where we could pick other sports up pretty quickly. So we're built differently in a sense, but again, Scott and I have had our fair share of battles back when I was healthy, and it's pretty fun because I think Scott's naturally a better weightlifter than me, naturally much better technique than me. I just, I'm sometimes can grind some stuff out.
Maybe clean and jerk.
Yeah.
I'll give myself maybe clean and jerk.
You have a more aesthetically pleasing technique. We'll say that.
Well, I don't know. Your snatch.
Here, keep this a little closer.
Oh, my bad.
You're good. So yeah, go back. Let's bring it. I know, Scott went to North Scott High School here in the Quad Cities. So take us through. When did you start playing sports? What did you play? Give us the lowdown.
I guess when I was really young, my parents did the classic do everything kind of thing. So we did basketball, baseball, very short stint with soccer, when I was young. Hated it. It just wasn't for me. But I think it was more my parents hated it because watching little kids play soccer is brutal.
Yeah, it's like herding sheep.
Yes, and I think I got hit in the face once playing goalie, and I said I'm done with this. But mostly played baseball, basketball, and then got into football when it was tackle, probably in 5th grade. I don't know if that's the case anymore, if they'd allow kids to do tackle. But I was always kind of small. So, like, I'm pretty big now.
Which is surprising, yeah.
I was a very small kid. Like, I didn't weigh over 100 pounds until halfway through freshman year of high school.
That's crazy.
So I wasn't always very fast. I mean, or necessarily, I was pretty good. I bet if you took me from, like, I had a very stacked class at North Scott. Like, there was a lot of guys just who were very good at sports. And I bet if you took me and put me in another school, maybe I would have played a little bit more in high school, but that's hindsight. But
I think that probably also contributed to your success, or maybe in weightlifting or just becoming a good athlete. Like, you're gonna play up to your competition.
Yeah.
Right. Like, you surrounded by, if you went to that smaller school, like, you might not have actually been as good. You might have played more, but you might not have been as good. Right.
Yeah. I mean, my group of friends in high school, we played everything all the time. Like, whether it was like pick up baseball with a tennis ball in the backyard at somebody's house, or playing basketball, pick up basketball at somebody's house, or even the one summer where we decided to start a small ball league, a 3-man like tournament, where full on schedule and everything. And we played at the Parkview Elementary School on 8-foot rims. And like, it was a full blown league, and we were trying our asses off, and it was definitely like helped a lot of guys with like confidence, I think. But it was pretty cutthroat, like, as far as sports go. Like, we were all friends, but when it came to like sports and teams, like whether it was traveling ball or when we got to high school, like, it felt pretty cutthroat as far as like who's going to play, and like everybody was kind of on it as far as, doing the right things, doing the things coaches wanted to see, and just developing yourself individually. So, I mean, I definitely benefited from these guys, like, as far as just getting better at sports. And like, we were pretty harsh on each other. I mean, I'm sure like, guys are ruthless in sports. Like,
100%.
They could be your best friend one day, but when you step on the basketball court, they're talking trash.
At least that's how my experience was, and in my opinion, that's probably what most of the best athletes have. And I think I really truthfully believe that's one of the reasons that I got as good at weightlifting as I did, is from my experience with playing, team sports. And I mean, you kind of know, and it's the same way with you. It's like when we start competing, like, the gloves are off, like the shit talking starts, like, you flip a switch and you turn into a different person.
Yeah.
And I think the top athletes have to do that. Like, even at the meet, like, we're like, screw that guy. When in reality, it's like, he's probably a nice guy.
Yeah, you
right?
don't know anything about him. But
Right.
You're just like, he's done some small thing that has upset you, and it's like motivation. You're
Right.
like, I can't lose to him now. And it could be the smallest, dumbest thing that he has no idea that he did.
Yeah, it's funny you guys played, like, small ball. So my dad built a basketball court when I was growing up. I was about 8 years old when he built this garage it wasn't like everybody, like, I think when I say this, they think he built a garage that we just so happened to put a hoop in. No, he built the garage to play basketball in.
I've
Like,
seen it.
and I turned it was the rep 1.0 basically. But anyways, like, that became like the community basketball court, because like back when we were growing up, like, the TBK didn't exist. Like, none of that existed. Really, you had the school gym, which you couldn't get into unless you were like had a family member or something. And they were pretty, they were very like strict on that. So people would just come, and like, my dad basically left the door unlocked and played. But anyways, when I would play with my buddies, we loved to play with like the rim crank down, and the hoop we had, I mean, you could crank it down to like 5 foot. It was so low.
Oh,
like you
really?
could get it so low. So even when we were real little, we could like dunk and stuff, right? And so, anyways, like we loved that. But my dad almost had to start coming up with like a rule, like because he was like our coach too. He was like, you guys have to play real basketball first, like, and then you can switch to playing like dunking and stuff. Like, but you are getting no actual practice. But I do think you were like just the creativity like that you are able to use, like the dunking and
Oh yeah.
you basically pretend like you're in the NBA. You get to feel like that. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's funny because like I'm short in relative to like
Same
basketball, but like it's funny how like everyone on our like all my friends, like most of us were not like post players, but like we got good at posts because
that's a good point.
We played on that low rim, and so like it didn't matter if like your buddy who is like the starting center when the hoop's at 8 feet, like you can get creative to still score, and it's not like as daunting to try to score on a 10-foot rim rather than an 8-foot rim.
Well, I think too, like for me, it was when we were younger. Let's say like doing a reverse layup where you like go an up and under. When you're a little kid, doing that on a 10-foot hoop is almost impossible.
It's so hard.
And even if you do it, you're doing a different movement than when you grow up in high school and you can actually do it. So I actually think like it helps in certain ways because you're able to almost like mimic the same movement. It's just as you get stronger and as you get taller and as you get to jump higher, now you can like move the rim up a little bit. But when you're a kid, if you start out with like 10-foot hoop, like think about like when you're a real little kid, they don't put you on a 10-foot hoop because you'd have to literally like throw the ball like a baseball to get it up there. You have to change your shot completely.
Yeah.
Versus like they put you on an 8-foot hoop, you could shoot a normal looking shot, right? So, anyways, enough with that. And that's the other thing too. I think a lot of kids, especially ones that we train, nowadays it's like I don't see that as much. And I don't know about you, but it's like I don't see as much of this like creative, like go to the park, play these games that aren't even real. I mean, how many games did you guys like invent essentially, right? Like in your basement or in your backyard, like 500 all the time, like you just invented games, and I think it created a lot of general athleticism that built like a super good base for me, and then it also just built like a lot more like a creativity and ability to be aware of what my body was doing.
Oh, 100%. Like I said, I was a very small kid. I was very, very weak, like comparatively to my friends. So when like I was doing all my friends could do the reverse layup, like I like was not strong enough to do it, and I thought I was doing it, but then like somebody would like because your friends are just the worst to you sometimes, so they would mock how you did it, and you're like, I thought I was doing what you did, where it was like real smooth and you flick the ball.
A little spin, yeah.
Yeah, and I'm like, I can't figure it out. I have to use 2 hands to like spin it, and it goes nowhere near the rim. And so that was like, that was like baseball. That was like basketball. I mean, football too. It was just like, I was small. But
you're like learning to figure things out. I think that's like what I'm getting at is like you start to like experiment. I don't think there's a lot of, like if I just coach you on something, and this is probably, we could kind of tie this into weightlifting, but when I first started weightlifting, I didn't have a coach, and I did a lot of experimenting, like with my technique, and I think that helped me a lot in the long run because it made me very aware of like what different positions felt like. Right. And so anyways, I think back what you're describing is like you were just experimenting with how do I get this ball in the hoop? Like, this is how, and you try it enough times and you figure out what works best for you.
Right. And then also doing like all these dumb backyard games or like just playing like pickup games and stuff, like you had so much practice. Yeah. Like you could get killed by like 30 points with your friends, but like you're playing the whole time.
Right.
Whereas like when you get into like actual like team sports, like where you're going against some other school or like, another town, like if you're not doing well, you're not in the game.
Right. You're gotta get minutes.
Yeah. So like when you're playing with your friends in backyard, like, I mean, you got your 6 friends there, it's 3-on-3. You're not getting subbed out.
No.
You just got to suffer. and you have to figure it out because
Yep.
like you're getting killed by your friends, so you eventually are forced to like figure it out
Yep.
and like figure out what works for you and how you're gonna like score, how you're gonna get past somebody in the post or whatever it is, like whatever sport you're playing, like you have to figure it out, and you're getting all the time in the world to do so. And compared to when organized sports where if you're 0 for 4 at the plate, coach is taking you out of the game.
Yep.
Like, and you might not play next week. And you might be like that. You go into the 9th inning when your team's getting blown out and you're put in right field. Like, you might be that kid. But if you're playing with your friends in all these like backyard games, you're getting all that time to develop. And when it comes to playing in organized sports, you have the confidence and you also know what works for you.
Yep. So what sports did you play up through high school?
I played baseball all 4 years, basketball up until junior year because I just wanted to focus on baseball, and being 5'9" is not great. But football was weird because I went out for football freshman year, but like I said, like I was very small, and then over the course of high school, I actually gained 100 pounds. So I went from like 90 some pounds to like 215 my senior year.
Jeez.
And again, that goes to like, because I was always weak growing up, like when you went to high school, they're like, hey, welcome to the weight room. You have to go now because you're in sports.
See, that was not my experience. And I think that's why North Scott too has a pretty good tradition of sports.
Yeah.
I mean, that's always that I've known. They've always they have a nice facility. They have good strength coaches relatively there. That was not my experience. My experience was like, here's the weight room. If you want to go do some curls and bench, you can. But that's all we had. Like, there was squat racks, I guess, and I definitely should have used them. But like, we didn't have a lot of equipment,
Yeah. See, that was like, we had a full on weight room, and like we had to go. If you were in sports, you had to go. But like, I've always wanted to like get stronger, but I didn't know how. And then as soon as I got to high school and they, you go to early bird weightlifting, I was like, I got hooked. Like, I thought this was like super fun, and like maybe this is my chance to start actually playing. And it didn't work, unfortunately, but I fell in love with going to the gym and working out. And I'm glad that like I did go out to sports, because if I didn't have sports, I probably wouldn't have been weightlifting.
Yeah. I think real quick, I think that what you just said is super important though, because, we have kids in here that aren't superstars, right? Like, we have superstars that want to go to the next level and, and see how far they can take this. But we have kids that, they just want to see how much they can get out of their abilities. And here's the thing, like, I don't care what your ability level is. Like, these are life skills that you are, like, fitness and, training and technique within those movements is something that you'll be able to take away your whole life. And I mean, think about it. Me and you, I mean, we've been doing this for a really long time now, but like, isn't it just, I think we take for granted how much we know about training. And like, because I think sometimes you start talking to, like, we start talking to a kid, and it's our job to talk down to their level, right, and teach them. But, even I talk to my wife, I talk to my mom, and there's just things that they have no clue about that you're like, oh, like I didn't even realize that people didn't know what that was.
Yeah.
And it's just because we were introduced to this at such a young age, and we've engulfed ourselves into it. And it's like, I'm just very thankful, because I don't think, no matter how out of shape I let myself get, like, I will always, I mean, me and you have both done this before. We've literally had a challenge on it, right? We know how to get back into shape.
Yes.
And that's so comforting. It's almost like, I don't know if you've ever seen that show. It's like Backyard Millionaire or something like. Anyways, basically what they do is they take a guy who's a millionaire or billionaire, maybe it is, and they say you have no money.
Oh, yeah.
And you got to become a billionaire again,
Yep.
right? And I don't know the validity of the show. Point is, though, is the idea is he knows how to become a billionaire.
Yeah.
So he's saying, like, you could take all my money away, I'll become a billionaire again. here's the thing. I feel that way about fitness. I don't feel that way about
No,
money.
I wish I felt that way about money.
Right. But I feel that way about fitness. Like I could literally not train for 5 years, and if I really wanted to, I could get it all back.
Oh, 100%. Yeah.
Right. Because you know how to do it.
Yeah.
Right. And I think to kind of circle back is I think these kids that maybe they don't want to come here because they're like, I'm not going to play college sports. It's like, that doesn't matter. Like, come here, learn these lessons, see what you can do. Because here's the thing, at a young age, that's your prime developing time. Like, that is your time where it's like, don't miss these years. You don't get these years back. These are years where I always call it like free gains. Like, one, you don't have anything to do, like, besides train, basically.
Stress is at zero.
Yeah, you think your stress is high, but it's not.
No.
Right? Like, every kid thinks they're freaking stressed out. Well, just wait, right? So you have nothing to do. Most of you don't have a job. You know, just you can focus on training. And then again, maybe you'll find a sport like Scott did in weightlifting or CrossFit that you can pursue as an adult. Like, and you end up, I mean, me and Scott are both competing in weightlifting, and you're 30 now, right? Mm-hmm. I'm 29, he's 30, and we're competing in a sport still. These people that went to play college sports, they're not competing in that sport anymore, most likely. So I think that, anyways, long tangent, but getting into training is important at a young age is important, no matter whether you're trying to be good at sports or not.
Well, it's also like for me with like training, like getting into the weight room, like in high school, where like it was all for sports. Like you're there to get stronger, faster. They promise you all that when you start training in weightlifting. But for me, it was like I was the skinny, dorky kid. Like I'm still a huge dork. Like, and I'm like a nerd and all that stuff. But like I went in and like you develop your body, develop muscles, and like you develop all this confidence. And it's like if it doesn't work out for sports, you're not playing, and then high school ends and it's like there is no college sports for you, but you have all this confidence and you can go to college or go, if you don't want to go to college, go wherever, and you can still like go to the gym, work out, set yourself a goal, and you still have that, and you still have all this confidence that you gain from going to the gym. Like that was my biggest thing, realizing later that I was like super happy about, was that I wasn't the guy at college who, was drinking beer on a Saturday, getting, and just a blubbery mess, and like was talking about the heydays in high school. Like I wasn't that guy because like, unfortunately for me, high school sports didn't work out. Right. But I left high school with, knowing how to work out, knowing how to train, and having that confidence in myself for other things. And like you take that confidence and it applies to like school or your next, athletic endeavor, whether you do get into CrossFit or weightlifting, maybe you pick up golf later, you've pursued this level of athleticism, and like you're pursuing something where like you just don't give up on stuff and you don't settle for anything.
Would you say that you would have the level of confidence that you have now had you not started training in high school?
No.
Or even would you have gained the level of confidence that you had in high school at some point, without training?
I mean, no, because you just don't know what you don't know. Like if you think like I want to go to the gym, you don't know what to do when you get there. You want to be there, but you don't have any idea of how to work out, and like you don't know who to talk to. And having that like strength coach in high school who like shows you the ropes, and like you see the program that you do because you're handed it every day. Mm-hmm. And then you get like, all right, like I'll start with this. And then you do that. That's what I did when I went to college, is like I didn't know about CrossFit. I didn't know about weightlifting. I just went there and I did my strength and conditioning program in college. But then you're like, you see some guy doing something else that looks fun. So you're like, I'm going to try that. Mm-hmm. And then eventually like one of my best friends told me about CrossFit because I saw a poster on his dorm wall with like, it said CrossFit and it had a bunch of jacked people. And I said, "You get that way of doing CrossFit?" And he goes, "Yeah." And I go, "Well, I want to try CrossFit." And he goes, "Oh, they're opening up a gym in Ames, and let's go." And so I went there and was like one of the first 5 members of this CrossFit gym, and started doing CrossFit. No idea what I was doing. I just was like, I'm breathing super hard, and I just trusted that this was going to make me look a certain way. And then starting CrossFit, the coach, Aaron McNew, love you, he taught me weightlifting because he was like a huge like buff like me and you, like just loves it, would show me Klokov videos, who's like a Russian weightlifter. And like all these guys doing like insane numbers. And he's like, "Do you want to try this?" And I was like, "Yes, of course I do. That looks awesome." So he started teaching me weightlifting and now I laugh about some of the methods that he did to like teach me. But either way, it was like he introduced me to it. And then from there it was just, I'm hooked, and stuck with CrossFit for a while. You know, everybody's like, "I'm going to go to the CrossFit Games." And
same.
After a year, I was like, I ain't making it.
I lasted a little longer. I lasted like 3 or 4 years. Because here's the thing, weightlifting, the movements are in CrossFit. So
yes.
I was still doing a lot of that. But yeah, it's funny how you said, like, I saw the movements. Like, I saw weightlifting. The guy showed you weightlifting, and you're like, he's like, "Do you want to do this?" And you're like, "Yeah, that looks awesome." Like, that's everybody that I've ever talked to. With weightlifting, it's like the movements are enamoring. They're just so cool. They're so athletic looking. It's, I don't know. I don't know how to describe it, but if you have a good weightlifter, like whenever Mason comes to the gym on Saturdays, or whenever you're lifting in front of these kids, I'm always like, watch this. Like, and because the way you guys move is so fast and so explosive and so smooth in certain aspects. And it's just, the kids are just like, holy cow. Like, it's insane, right? They can't wrap their head around it. And that's like everybody that I've ever like had watch weightlifting, like actually watch like high level weightlifting, they have the same response. It's pretty cool.
Yeah. Because it's like, but it's also like, keep in mind, like, it looks great now, but I've been doing it for 10 years.
Exactly.
I have plenty of videos on my phone of when I first started, my first few PR numbers at way lower weights, and it is ugly.
I wish I had more. I wish I had took more videos. When I very first started, I wish I took more videos.
Oh, yeah.
You know, because like I've searched for them sometimes, and I just don't know if I did, or I don't know if they got rid of them on a phone. But I mean, man, like, I mean, I was very, like, you at least had somebody introduce you to the lifts. I was YouTube. I had YouTube. That's all I had.
Oh, I mean, as soon as I found out about weightlifting, I was on YouTube watching montages of guys training lifts or some of the best. And, you know, you talked about like testing out a bunch of techniques. I was emulating multiple people, and I thought that was the way to go.
But that's how, I do think that is how you get better. Like at the beginning, I think that's a really cool way to go about it, because it's like, me and Mason talked about this a little bit, but you emulate a guy and you quickly know if your body is kind of made for that or not. I mean, I've definitely been guilty of trying to fit myself into a style of lifting that I thought was aesthetically pleasing that I shouldn't have. But it's usually what I've found success in is I'll kind of marry different things about different guys' technique that I liked. Maybe I liked his setup. Maybe I liked his the way that he moved his feet. Maybe I liked the way that he, you know, was, I don't know, like the way that he, I said setup, but like his start position was low or high, whatever. Yeah. And then you do one where something weird happens basically, and you're like, oh, that was the best one. And then that's how you develop your own flair on there. Yes. That technique. It's like, you know, I kind of like, and you've seen like Dylan Cooper, for example, he clearly emulated Ilya. Like his technique is very Like you can just clearly tell that's what he tried to do.
Yeah.
But it doesn't look the same because it's his style of that, right?
Yes.
But don't you think Kobe Bryant, like he emulated Michael Jordan, I think, is pretty clear, right?
Yeah.
And now he luckily was built very similarly to Michael Jordan. So I think like I keep saying Klokov, Ilya and Dylan Cooper are not built remotely close to the same.
No.
So they're not going to look the same, right? But again, like I do think that is a really good way for people to learn. And that's not just weightlifting. I think I don't know about you, but when I was in the garage, I thought I was Tracy McGrady. So.
I had a stint where I thought I was Jimmer Fredette.
Yeah.
And I shot the ball and I did the whole leg kick and everything for a while. And you make one basket and you think this is perfect. And then you realize that no, that's just, he shot like 100,000 and it doesn't matter what his feet do.
Right.
Because he's worried about here to here.
And he did that naturally and you're doing it on purpose.
Yeah. And I'm exaggerating it and like yelling out Jimmer when I'm, and, or Kobe or, just dumb stuff. And then, you eventually figure out what is your shot or, how you throw a baseball or how you swing a bat. Like Derek Jeter for me was my favorite baseball player as a kid. I had his number, I had his shoes or his cleats or whatever. And I did his entire, walk up and like I did his full setup and forever. I did it I did it all the way through high school. I did everything. I tried to swing the bat like him.
Yep.
And should I have? No.
Right.
No, I should not have. And it was but it works and you feel like that level of confidence.
That's where a good coach would come in though, right? Not that you didn't have a good coach in baseball, but I think a really high level, hitting coach, not like a skill coach, not like a team coach necessarily, a skill coach. And they would say, hey, you're not built to swing like this. Your body type is going to be more, this style is probably going to be more advantageous for you, or based on your mobility or your tendencies, your bad habits, this is a style maybe you should emulate more. Like for me, I have long legs relative to my torso, and I also have very externally rotated femurs. So actually a Klokov style technique was actually fairly good for me because that's kind of what his proportions were. He has super bowed legs, which I don't have, but he points his toes way out, right? Yeah. I don't do that on purpose. I just do it. So that kind of style worked a little bit better. I had a really strong back relative to my legs, so being over the bar like he was better. But if I tried to lift like Ilya, again, it just never went well because of that. So I think that you have to, and T-Mac was my favorite basketball player of all time, and I would always try to shoot the ball above my head, kind of like this. And I'm like, man, why does that never feel right? I don't have any power from that position. It's because my arms are half the length of his, right? And so
and again, you're not 6'8" and
yeah, exactly,
perfectly athletically gifted for basketball.
Right. So you do have to figure that out. But again, it's really fun, and I do think it's a great way to start. I think the biggest thing though is just finding a really good coach. I think, and that's kind of what you went back to, is that you had a really good, or you had a good strength coach and you had somebody show you the ropes in high school. A lot of high schools, kids don't have that. And I think that's where we come in,
Yes.
And I think that's where it's hey, even if you do, I would say most high school strength coaches would understand that they have limitations. One, they only get you for a certain period of time usually. Generally they would probably say, hey, it's good to do stuff outside of there. But again, that's where I really think find a coach, let them take your natural tendencies. Even when I'm coaching weightlifting, when somebody's never done a snatch, never done a clean jerk, we talked about this with Mason, but I actually have them show me a snatch before I show them anything. Do a snatch, do what you think a snatch should look like.
Right.
Because here's the thing, as bad as it's going to look, you're at least going to do one thing pretty well. And what I don't want to take that away from you, because if you do something naturally that's correct and you don't have to think about it, it's huge.
It's massive.
It's huge, because I think the best athletes in the world are the ones that do everything right without thinking about it.
Yes.
And they also make the worst coaches because they don't know how to coach you how to get there, right? Because they just were there when they were born.
Yeah.
But again, if you have things that you do naturally really well and you don't have to think about them and take brain power away from other things, it's huge. So anyways, I don't go in. I think a lot of coaches, when they coach weightlifting, they go in, if you're a brand new athlete or even if you're not, and they say, here's how I teach the snatch. I do this position, then this position, then this position, where I want to see you do something, and then I just want to fix what's wrong. I want to say, hey, you did this really well. Keep doing that. Let's change this.
Yeah. And it's just, I think it is a very complicated lift. Like, I mean, you've seen the countless videos where the overanalyzed, explained, snatch, clean, jerk, and it drives me crazy because like it is technically a complicated movement, but it's also not.
Right.
And like the simpler you can make it, the better off like somebody is doing it. And like it's too much info a lot of times that I see that is out there on snatch and clean and jerk.
Yep.
And like what you said, like when somebody just naturally does something right, don't change them. Like don't give them 8,000 cues, because then they're going to forget what they did right.
Exactly.
And they're just going to try to mimic what you're doing, and they're going to miss the complete, point of doing the lifts, and they're going to do it incorrectly for a long time. And like, I mean, when I came here, like I wasn't finishing the pull. Like you noticed that, and like, I mean, it was like we hammered that forever. And that was like, and now it's like, you give me one thing, like, hey, you missed that because you didn't finish your pull. Like, because it'll
still happen from time to time, right?
Yeah.
It's like a golfer, probably like most golfers will always have the same issue. Like if it goes bad, this is why. Like for you, I would say that's probably your like thing. If you generally, not always, but like if you miss it, you probably cut it.
Yeah.
And so anyways, that was that.
It's just like, yeah, it's a simple thing where like, because when you do it so long, like you know how to do it.
It's simple now. What you're saying is basically like I can say, hey, finish. You know what that means. You know what that feels like.
Yeah.
You know what the timing is. It wasn't always like that. Like at first you were like, I'm like, no, I need you to like feel like you're on your toes for an extra half a second.
Yeah.
And it feels bizarre because you feel like I should be going under right now. And I'm like, no, I know it feels stupid, but you can actually still apply force into the ground and into the bar at that moment. And if you do that for that extra fraction of a second, that bar height will be so much better, and you'll catch it in a better position.
Yeah, or like keep your feet on the ground kind of thing.
Exactly.
Where like wait till it gets to your hips and then extend. Like watching those videos, you're like, I'm so annoyed because I know exactly what he's talking about.
Right, but again, you don't know that you're not doing it.
Exactly.
Right, and that's why the best athletes have coaches, regardless. Yes. Like you start doing things, it's real versus feel. I mean, how many things in your golf swing do you think you're doing? You watch a video and you're like, that doesn't look anything like what I thought it did.
Oh God, yeah, I got ripped apart recently by a friend, but yeah, it's
right.
It's you think you're doing it right, and then you see yourself and you're like, I hate this.
Right. You need a coach. You need somebody that has eyes on you no matter what, in my opinion. And that can even just be your friend. Like, hey, can you like you before I even start coaching you, you would say like, hey, can you watch this particular thing on this lift and tell me if I'm doing it? Because I can't tell if I'm doing it or not. Right. Mm-hmm. And I think that's the sign of a really good athlete. So let's dive a little bit more into training methods. So, if you were to go back and maybe, first of all, I guess, what was your training like in high school? Was it just pretty general?
It was general, like, 10 rep maxes on back squat, a lot of high reps on squat
that's really good. I mean, the fact that you guys were doing that, I mean, I think that's an awesome way to build a base for a kid.
Oh yeah. I mean, huge. I definitely am like glad because I've been fortunate where I'm built to squat, so it
Right.
was a natural thing. But like just doing all of those, like you just know how to squat.
Well, and like I think a lot of strength coaches schools, they do the other where they go very heavy all the time, and I would much rather see like the kids grind out a 10 rep max squat when they're young, and then you have your whole life to go heavy.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like build your base. I think that's awesome. I think it makes a lot of sense why you're as strong as you are, honestly.
Yeah, it's like, and then obviously like when I got to CrossFit, then it was it was just all over the place.
I mean, even more general.
Yeah, I mean, it was very random. It was like, we feel like doing a front squat today, or I want to do snatch and clean and jerk. And like, that was usually a staple in the CrossFit gym I was a part of, was basically just going in, doing snatch, clean and jerk, and then doing the workout of the day.
Which I think is actually better than most CrossFit gyms. Like the fact that they had you snatch, clean, jerk, squat before class, that's a pretty good start.
Yeah. I mean, that was just because the coach at the time was probably 25 when he opened up the gym, and like we were just 19, 20-year-old kids, and he loved maxing out snatch and clean and jerk and squat, and so that was just what we did. Like every time we went in, it was like, let's max out, let's do this, and we do that. Then he would just come up with a workout, and it wouldn't necessarily be the class workout. It was because we went at weird times, but it was just, random stuff. Or we'd come in and he'd be like, I saw that the CrossFit HQ website had this workout and it looks brutal. We should do it. And we're like, okay.
That shows you how much, like, again, especially early stage CrossFit, it was so random. Like it was the hopper like style where they were like, basically we should be able to put workouts into a hopper and then pick it out and you can do it, versus like periodization, like, which is like what the games athletes were doing, like actually training. Yeah.
And then I guess fast forward when I just made the decision to switch completely to weightlifting because one, that was the thing I enjoyed the most. And I was tired of CrossFit. And I thought, well, if I drop all this aerobic exercise and just focus on the anaerobic strength and conditioning stuff, I'll get better at weightlifting. And based on the numbers that I had got to through CrossFit, I was like, I could qualify for all these weightlifting competitions.
Yep.
So I dropped all that, and then I didn't have like a weightlifting coach for a while. I would go into the gym and basically just max out snatch and clean and jerk, and then maybe do a squat or something. But there was no structure. And then somebody was like, "You should try Smolov for this," and that was my biggest regret at that age, because I tried to do the Smolov squat program, which I found out later that it only works if you're actually taking drugs, and I was not. And I was also trying to do
or doing literally nothing else. So that's what I did when I broke my wrist, and that's all I could do. I had a cast on my wrist from here to here, and I'm like, well, I can't do anything upper body, so I did Smolov, and it was fine because literally that's all I did for. It was a 12-week program.
Yeah, 12 weeks.
Yeah, but you probably did it and also tried to do everything else.
Yep,
yeah.
I tried to do snatch and clean and jerk, and I thought I was being smart, but I was like, I'll only do 80% snatch and clean and jerk. No, you don't.
Yeah.
And I ended up pulling my groin and had knee issues, and I was way overtrained, and I just thought if I grind this out, I'll back squat 500 pounds.
And it didn't happen.
And it didn't happen. It was just stupid. I ended up having to take like a long time off and like recover, and it was just dumb. But eventually I got a strength coach and actually had a program, or a weightlifting coach, and actually got like a program. But my biggest thing now as as an adult and having 10 years of experience doing weightlifting, I wish I understood that this is a long-term thing. And this is a long process, and I wish I wasn't as stubborn as far as how I felt. I would go into the gym and feel like crap, And like, it's a common weightlifting thing and like in sports in general, where it's like, you're going to get beat up. You're going to, have days where you don't feel on and you just got to power through. I wish I didn't do that.
And, I agree with you. I mean, obviously, I just had hip surgery. It's funny though, because you're thinking of this, and I'm the same way. You're thinking of this from a high level, like you really weren't feeling good. We're talking like we would train through like, I mean, legitimately injuries, right, and legitimate like overtraining. Most people will never experience that, so it's such a tricky thing to talk about because we have these kids who need to learn how to fight through some soreness and some fatigue and I don't want to be here today, and that's a very important skill. And then what happens is like that skill of pushing through then which is what got you to this level, is what you have to almost like lose to get to the next level.
Yes.
You have to like and that's where I think getting a coach is the biggest thing that can help you there, is because they're supposed to, if they're a good coach, they're going to be the one that dials you back.
Yes. Because, I mean, in college I had university nationals. I had qualified, and I was in very good shape going into the competition. And with like a week out, I was doing I PR'd my front squat, but on the way up, I heard a loud pop in my knee. And then I, immediately did like a little squat check, and I was stabbing pain in my knee. And I was like, well, crap, like I booked a flight, it's all paid for, and like I gotta go. And then, and I didn't lift for like the entire week. I was supposed to finish the taper and all this kind of stuff. And I ended up going to the meet, and I had to change my technique on how I pulled the bar off the ground. And for some reason that took away some of the pain, but, I competed and I did fine, but I trained on that knee coming back for like 2 months, and it would be either a really good day or a really bad day where it was like awful pain. Fast forward, finally got an MRI after being an idiot for a while, and I had patellar tendinosis in my knee, and the doctor showed me I had holes in my tendon and it was from overtraining, and like, it's a complicated, but basically the muscle was squeezing the tendon, causing deterioration. And he was like, just stretch and don't lift. And I was like, okay. And I finally listened.
But if you would have like listened to your body a little bit better and taken a day off when you needed it, you wouldn't have got to that point.
No. And I think if I understood recovery and like how to like take care of the body outside of the gym.
You're very good at that. That's something that I think we should touch on real quick. Scott has told me he stretches every single night, and you've done that for the last however long, correct?
6 years.
Stretches every single night before he goes to bed, and he's done that. And I can attest to it because I've stayed in hotel rooms with him, and he does it every single night for 6 years. I wish I could say that. And I would be in a much better spot if I could say that. So, promise you, take that away. Also, Scott's way more flexible than me, and it's no secret as to why. So that's what you're referring to. A big part of what you're referring to, right?
Yeah, the stretching helps with, I mean, weightlifting in particular, but I feel like it probably could apply to other sports.
100%. It keeps you away from injuries.
Yeah, like if you're able to just be in really tied up positions.
Football.
Like, yes.
Wrestling. I mean, they get in some weird positions, right?
Baseball. I mean, like if you're
sliding into base.
Yeah. Like anything. Like, I mean, even just like throwing a baseball, like if your arm's mobile, like you're not going to have shoulder issues. You go down the list forever. But for weightlifting specifically, obviously, like you're not always going to be in the full range of motion. Like when you do squats or like wherever you catch a clean or a snatch, but you most likely will be in a very compromised position. And if your body cannot physically get to that position, that's when you like pull something or tear something or whatever. So I had to like get more mobile and also with the stretching, like because you are, I mean, constantly doing, you know, constantly working your entire body, like stretching for me, stretching before I go to bed, like it relaxes the muscles because like you don't want to be tight. It's like that's how you get injured.
Right.
And like I've done the whole grasping thing on myself too, which is painful, but no one else is going to do it. So, and like I've gone and gotten massages or, you know, I've done about everything.
Yep.
And just to feel normal and like attempt to prevent something from happening. But I mean, it's been a game changer as of the last however many years now that I've gotten older. Like if I did not stretch and I tried to come in for when we're prepping for a meet, that I'm doing max 50%.
100%.
Because it's going to hurt, and it's not going to be the hurt that you can just push through.
I think the biggest thing to kind of, you know, tie up what you're saying for me is if your program says 4 sets of 5 at this weight and you do set 3 and it was just really hard and it didn't feel great and, you know, just stuff started hurting, just don't do the 4th set. Like that's where, like, or if there's a day where your program says you need to train and you feel, I mean, just horrible. And it sucks because it's like I said, there's kids that, trust me, you probably don't feel horrible. Horrible is horrible. I mean, weightlifting, like you can literally, my entire body would just ache and I could barely move, you know, but I would still train. Like that's just dumb.
Yes.
Like, you know, or I would train exactly the way that the program said to train. And that's where I'm getting at is like, one, if I was smart enough now, like I try to be now where, hey, I plan to do 4 sets at this weight, but by set 3, man, I was like, dude, my legs are cooked. I am done. That's just it. I'm not going to do it. 1 set is not going to make or break my career. Yep. Well, actually, it's not going to make my career, but it could break my career. Yeah. And that's where the biggest thing, right? Max told me that. He said, 1 lift is not going to make you any stronger, but 1 lift can end your career. And the sooner people understand that, the better, right? So anyways, if I would have listened to my body more from a session-to-session basis, I think I would have been better off, and I would have never got to the point where my entire body felt like it was on fire. Like I had like, dude, my elbows, that was like, I used to get like this elbow tendonitis where it just like the nerves just like, I mean, it feels like you're on fire, like absolutely on fire, and you're just training anyways, right? It's like, just stop doing that. Like you're not going to lose it all in 1 session.
Or a week.
Yeah, a week, 2 weeks, doesn't matter. Like, yeah, you might go, the first session back might not be 100% because you're a little rusty.
Right.
It's like if you haven't shot a basketball in 2 weeks, yeah, the first time back, you might not swish everything, but it's not like you forgot how to shoot.
No.
You know?
Yeah, it's interesting because, oh man, I lost my train of thought there.
No, that's all right. I really want to keep diving in on this because I think I don't think there's too many people that have trained as hard as we have at certain points in our careers. And I think that's a unique perspective that we're able to bring is, one, I would never recommend that you train the way that I trained, but also I do think I don't regret it necessarily. Like I like that I have the perspective because I trained really hard for probably 4 years straight. And like, again, I regret it in the sense that my body doesn't like me, but I have a unique perspective and I took myself to a spot that I don't think a lot of people are capable of. And so when certain athletes are, you know, they're tired or whatever, I'm like, no, you have to push yourself. But again, all this goes back to having a coach. Right. And a coach can see, if they're a good coach and they've been working with you a while, you know, they can see like, you know, I know if you complain about something, it's a for sure, like, we're not doing it.
Yeah.
Like, no way. Right. Versus if somebody else complains about something, I might be like,
Yeah.
I think you're fine.
Yeah.
Right. So I think with that, for me, what I want to just nail that down with is like, at the end of the day, if I would have found a coach sooner, because here's the thing, by the time I started working with Max, my body was already messed up. Like I did not have any like good meets for Juggernaut ever. I was already, my career was pretty much over because I had beat myself to a pulp. I didn't have a coach up till then. And I think if I would have found a coach sooner and thought more long term, because now here I am, 29, almost 30, wanting to be good at weightlifting again. I'm like, I had to be good. You know, my best year of my career was when I was 22, 23. I thought I was old. I thought I had to be good the next day.
Yeah.
Right? I didn't think I could continue training this long.
Yeah, that was a thing where the pressure to like these meets, like the pressure to qualify, like when I was in college, like the pressure to qualify and the pressure to like improve, like thinking back, I put the pressure on myself.
100%.
I didn't, there was no, like when at Iowa State, there was no weightlifting. I mean, I was one of very few guys who even did it all the time.
Right.
And like, everybody was like, wow, you're doing a lot of weight, but like you compare yourself. I did it a lot. I compared myself to other people in the country who were doing weightlifting and who were in my weight class.
And even some that are your age, but then they had been doing it way longer than you. Mm-hmm. And like, you're thinking, I need to catch up.
Yes. And that's not smart.
No, because here's the thing. It's all about training age, right? Like basically they say like, hey, you're probably going to hit your, this is a general statement, but you're going to hit your peak 10 years into your training age, right? Well, that means if you started training when you were 12 and now you're 22, like look at CJ, right? Like,
yeah.
You know, he's a good example. CJ Cummings, for people that don't understand, like he started training when he was very young, and he hit his prime in his like late teens, like early 20s maybe, right? And so the point is like, yes, his absolute age is still very young, but his training age was high.
Yeah.
And your body starts to get cooked a little bit if you're, you know, training under a certain level. And so for me and you, we started training like in our late teens, early 20s. Mm-hmm. So really, we should have been thinking like right about now would be our peak.
Right.
But instead we were trying to peak at the same age as CJ, who started when he was 12.
Yeah. And that's the thing too. It's just like you will get there. That's whatever you want to accomplish, like you will get there eventually.
Right.
Like I'm 30.
If you don't quit, you basically just have to not quit.
Yeah. Not quit, take care of yourself. I mean, it's a hard thing. Like it was a hard lesson. Like, I mean, I was very stubborn. I trained through a lot of crap that I shouldn't have. And I felt like I had to go, even though I had nobody telling me I had to go. It was like, I felt like I needed to go train. I need to just get through this. Maybe eventually I'll just feel better. Mm-hmm. And it's like, no, you will get there. You just need to be patient. You just need to like stay the course. And like, I mean, I was like a very skinny kid in high school who was bad at a lot of things. Mm-hmm. And then I started weightlifting and I got a lot stronger. My body developed. I got better at sports. And I got better at just I got better at picking up new things because like you just develop your body and you just stay the course. And like, you know, now at 30, I'm the strongest I've ever been in my life. And it's like, you will get there. It's like, you might not be the 15-year-old and 18-year-old, 22-year-old phenom, but maybe when you're late 20s, early 30s, you might be that guy.
Yep.
And
100%.
And you know, it took me 10 years to win my first national medal, and I got bronze. So it's like,
yeah, let's talk about that. So you've had a last couple good years. Talk about some of the top meets you've had.
I mean, in college, I was able to qualify for university nationals most of the years. I would maybe place in the top 10, but I did make fairly steady progress, but it wasn't anything that was going to put me on the podium. Mm-hmm. And then after college, I mean, you just keep going, and I was able to qualify for nationals like a year after college, And again, like, I'm not placing, I'm just there. And it was like, you know, it was goals. Like, nationals was the biggest meet with the hardest total requirement to get in. And I was able to do that. And I thought that was really cool. And then you get to a point where you're like, all right, if I keep going this route, maybe if I, you know, sign up for the right meet and the right people show up, maybe I have a chance. And just kind of stay in the course. But it wasn't until I got here where I was finally surrounded with other lifters. When we started, God, what was it, 6 years ago now?
Not even 5, almost 5.
Almost 5 years ago.
Yep.
So like started day one of your gym.
It seems like longer, right?
It feels longer.
Yeah, it would have been in 2020,
Yeah.
right after COVID. Like, was once gyms reopened from COVID.
That's right.
Yeah,
Because it was September.
September. Yep.
Yep. And came in, this is bare bones in here, and started lifting again after being off from COVID for, like 9 months or something.
Yep.
And then being around weightlifters and then getting that spark back to like push the weights. And then I had the coach from Mississippi, Tyler Smith, forever. And we, you know, I went to one of his meets. I finally snatched 140 in competition, clean and jerk to PR 176.
I remember that. Yeah.
And I was, you know, physically I looked like I was in the best shape of my life. And then I switched to you because you were there, because you were here.
That's the thing. Like, a lot of people, it's not about who's better. It's about in person.
It's massive, especially for weightlifting. And I think probably for other sports too. Like, if you have a coach physically there watching you on a day-to-day basis, they're going to see stuff that you're going to miss.
Yeah. And I think other sports just don't have as much remote coaching, like, as weightlifting is pretty common, because weightlifting, for a lot of people, they think of coaching as programming. Like, that's like the coaching.
Yeah.
Right. Where, yes, that's part of it, but there's another part of it is like, hey, again, technique cues. But also a big part of it is like, when you're in person in real time, you're seeing that looked horrible, or you look slow today, or like you need to dial it back.
Yeah.
Right.
And like telling them, like keeping them from maxing out when they shouldn't, which is, you've been so successful with that. Because I'm stubborn.
I mean, more than, you asked like 3 weeks in a row, and I said no for 3 weeks, and I finally was like, all right, fine. So I delayed it a little bit, right?
Yeah, which was good. But where were we at? The programming with weightlifting.
Yep. So basically, your meets, like, you started out, we were going through all your successful meets.
So yeah, then I switched to you.
Me, yep.
And then, we went, like, because you were there and like just on the day-to-day of like seeing how I was moving, and
also a different style of training than I think you had done before.
Yeah.
So I think that was a big help. It was like, I watched you lift for 2 years before I got to coach you. So I had like a few things that I knew. I'm like, and this is why I kind of waited for the day, because I was like, if I give him these complexes, like, that I know are going to address like a couple of things that I think I've seen in his technique, those will fix the things.
Right.
And the jerk specifically was a big one.
Yep. And it was like, and then having the discourse between each other of like talking about the goal and what we were trying to achieve. And like that helped me wrap my head around what we were going to do. Mm-hmm. And then I go into it with intention.
Yes.
And I think that's a big thing too, is like knowing the intention of the training. What are you trying to accomplish? What are you trying to fix or improve?
Yep.
And like, we addressed everything. And then I was starting to hit weights. The overhead numbers went way up. Mm-hmm. I wouldn't say my squat numbers went up, because those are just.
But that also wasn't a focus at the time. It was, hey, here's the technique issues that we need to fix. Like, we fixed them, and now I think we're going back and we're like, you and I think both agree, like, your technique is pretty darn good. I think there's marginal improvement left, if we're being honest. Like, there's improvement in everybody's technique left, and of course we talked about it, like, you you cut your pull still from time to time, which everybody does, but that's more of just an intention thing, right? Each lift. But we've both decided, and this is, I think a lot of athletes can take this away, is like at some point, you're about as efficient at your sport as you can get. You might just need to get stronger now.
Yeah. And that was a thing where we, as of recent, but like going back a couple of years when the Arnold came around and we signed up and I was finally not injured.
Yeah.
And we finally got through a training cycle, but showing up and then having that experience, and then we had an insane training over the first Arnold. I went in probably the best shape of my life, and then
you should have hit even more at that meet.
Yeah,
in both lifts.
Yeah, but the second lifts got on the medal, like got me on the podium, which we realized immediately when we got there and saw all the starting numbers. We were like, and you were like, dude, if you hit these numbers, you're gonna be on the podium. And you told me that before we even started warming up, and I was like,
but that's because you're a gamer. Like, I wouldn't have told everybody that. Like, I know that you're probably like, man, I got nervous or whatever, but that's the biggest thing. And we're gonna ask you like later on, like at the end here, I want to ask you about what your unfair advantage is. But like, from my perspective, the biggest thing that I've seen is you don't let your whatever's happened in training carry into your competition. Like, you just, when competition time comes around, you're just a different Scott, and it's like you don't care about training after that. What happened in training? It's like, this is a new day. I could do whatever.
Yeah. And that goes back to like every sporting thing, everything I've ever been involved in leading up to like now. Because like all of that experience, all of the like, if you want to get cliche, all the failures, and all the missed moments of glory, if you want to call them that, like you learn from that, and like you just kind of adapt, and like eventually it's gotten to the point now where it's like the last Arnold, earlier this year.
Yep,
this is the worst training cycle I've ever had in my life.
I mean, it wasn't even a real training cycle.
Yeah,
you decided to do the meet pretty late.
Yep.
Then you were like, hey, let's hop back on programming, right? You had taken a break from doing any programming for a while. And then when you did decide to hop back on programming, you had signed up for the meet and got waitlisted. Yeah. And they told you were like 80 some people that were ahead of you on the wait list. So I thought there's no shot he's getting in. Yeah. So I wasn't peaking you for the meet. Not that there would have been a whole lot of peaking anyways. I mean, there was like 3 or 4 weeks, right? Yeah. And then Scott gets in on the very last day, not even on the last day, in the last 30 minutes of like the
registration.
He gets an email, hey, you're off the wait list. You have 30 minutes basically to go sign up if you want.
And then we had 2 weeks.
And then, then there's 2 weeks, and I was like, oh God. And so, we peaked the best we could. But yeah, and then you again went out there and you turned into a gamer, and you didn't let that, affect you.
Yep. And then, we played a very strategic game, and kind of got lucky, I think, on certain opening miss, and then having to bump up on the snatch. And then looking back, it ended up working out because based on what I had to hit for clean and jerk, there was not those extra kilos left in the tank.
Right. Right. Yeah. And I think that's where we got lucky in certain ways. I think we actually got unlucky with that guy hitting that last lift, because I did not think he was going to hit it.
Yeah.
I can't remember what his name was. The 176, right?
Yeah. He was like 42 years old. I looked that up.
Wow.
Yeah, had the meet of his life.
Yeah, he did. He had like 6 for 6. But anyways, so the thing that I've just noticed about Scott is like when he gets into competition mode, doesn't matter how, even the meet, I don't know if you remember the meet that we did here, you did not train at all, hardly, for that meet. And you like decided to do it.
Oh, it still hurt too.
Yeah, you were like, I mean, I couldn't even believe you did it. And you still like hit some solid lifts. Like I
almost PR'd my clean.
Yeah.
And you were like, what?
I don't understand it. But again, it's like, it's almost like when it's game time, your brain goes, I have a chance, right? And all I need is a chance. And like none of the things that I did before this meet really matter. And it's the same thing. You take that into sports. Like every time there's a new game, it doesn't matter how you played the last game.
Yeah.
Right? Like this is a new game. Like you have you have just as much likelihood of playing well as playing bad. It's not like just because I played bad before means I'm going to play bad again. Now a lot of people carry that from game to game, right? But I mean, I'm just telling you, one thing I've noticed is that you do not let any of that come into the meet time. You are ultra confident meet time.
Yeah, because, I mean, I just know going into meet that I'm going to get very anxious, and there's going to be a lot of adrenaline. So any aches and pains, obviously we taper, so you kind of go in feeling as best you can at the time. But once the competition starts, there's you're anxious, the adrenaline is pumping, and I know, thankfully for weightlifting, I know that is a benefit.
Yep.
So
well, you're able to use it as a benefit too.
Yeah.
I think some people, my basketball coach in high school, he would say, "You guys just piss down your leg," and that's like some people piss down their leg when they get nervous.
They start thinking a lot, but like when you realize that is that's energy. I mean, there's a level of numbness to it where it's like beneficial, like in competition, like weights in it, like in training that we put on the bar in competition would feel so much heavier 100%. In training. Whereas like, because of all of the like anxiety and adrenaline pumping, like there's a level of numbness where you just then go through how to lift. Yep. You go through your technique. You attack the bar as if it's your 70%, and it might feel like 70% because you're so pumped up.
Yeah.
And so you surprise yourself on what you can hit when you allow that in.
I think the other thing is when you have a coach, you trust them, you trust that they tapered you as well as they could have, and you trust that you're going to perform better on stage than what you did in training. Versus like if you train yourself, sometimes you're kind of like, did I do it right? You're questioning. Yeah. And you may have done it the same way, but when it's yourself, you question it. Yeah. When it's somebody you trust, you buy in, right? And especially when they show confidence in you and they're sitting there telling you like, hey, you look good, like you got this, like you buy into it. I think that's a huge start, and why I wish that I had certain different athletic experiences, because I didn't always buy into my coaches. And I didn't always respect them and believe that they knew what they're talking about. Yeah. And I think when you have a coach that you really trust and feel that way about, I think that's massive. So, hey, we finish off every episode asking our guest what their unfair advantage is. And unfair advantage, what we mean by that is like life isn't fair, obviously. So a lot of people have unfair advantages. Some people are taller, some people are shorter. That's not really what we're looking for. We're looking for like a character trait or something that you feel like you were either inherently born with or you developed over time that has really helped you succeed that a lot of other people maybe don't have, that you feel like you have, and that's kind of the differentiator for you.
I guess my unfair advantage is that I am terrible at talking about myself.
No, this is good.
I guess the unfair advantage that I've always been told with weightlifting is that I am built for weightlifting. The body and my proportions and all that stuff, I am built for weightlifting, and I've always just I'm like, all right. And I bought into it.
But you bought into it. I think that's more the unfair advantage.
Yeah.
Is that somebody told you that and you ran with it.
Yes.
Right. And you were like, okay, well, if I'm built for this, I'm going to put all my eggs into it. Right. I don't think it's so much that you are. There's a lot of people that are built for weightlifting that aren't good weightlifters. Right.
Yeah. And it's like, I mean, I think that goes for anybody doing anything, is like when you try a bunch of stuff. Like for me, it was like all these sports I was fine at. Like, I mean, you were like, you can do all the things in sport. I couldn't dunk, obviously. I'm 5'9". But it was like you could do all the things in sport if the like moment arise. But like when you find, like for me, I found that like I'm built for weightlifting and I pursued it. And then you then can like just see where it takes you. And thankfully for me, it's taken me to a point where I can finally say I'm a medalist.
A national medalist.
At a national level meet.
Yeah.
And, you know, so it's like the journey isn't over. I'm going to keep doing it as long as I can. But it's fulfilling to like go 10 years and pursue something and enjoy the process of it, the ups and downs, and like learning all the things. Cause I mean, we geek out about this all the time and talk about it, but that's something that I think is like really cool, is just finding what's your thing and then running with it.
I think a lot of, including myself, at a young age specifically, we put a lot of our eggs into the wrong basket. And I think, you know, a lot of people want to say you can do anything you want if you put your mind to it. But I think if we're being honest, I think that's not always the best advice, both in life, like career, but also in sports. Like I think career-wise, you should do things that you're good at naturally and that you enjoy doing, and you should lean into that. And, you know, in sports, I think you should lean in. Like I wish I would have, and I bet you're the same, I wish I would have played golf a lot more when I was a kid, right? Yeah. Because those are sports that our height wouldn't have affected us in.
Yep.
Right? Meanwhile, I'm over here trying to be Tracy McGrady. So
yeah, it's find what you enjoy doing and pursue it, and ignore anybody that says that it's dangerous or that you shouldn't do it. This is, you know, you should be an engineer. No, if you want to do something, just go for it and pursue it and enjoy it, because otherwise you're going to have regrets later.
Yep. Awesome. Thanks, Scott. We'll do this again soon.
Cool. Thanks, guys.
Peace.